Hey everybody, I wanted to do a quick video today about the dragon lime and the dragon lemon, our newest seedling selection that we made this year, and kind of comparing and contrasting these two very unique seedlings of flying dragon, and discussing just a little bit about the perhaps underutilization of flying dragon as a female parent in these crosses. So having the flying dragon being the receiver of pollen from a edible citrus variety in these 50% crosses or whatever else you're really trying to cross. But let's take a look at some of these similarities because it's pretty interesting. For those of you who know about dragon lime already, it's also referred to, I believe, as edible flying dragon. I might challenge this a little bit. They're similar, if not, I might even prefer some trifoliate orange fruit over the dragon lime. However, the dragon lime is known for having a lime-like taste. I don't think I've gotten the opportunity to taste the fruit at its very peak, at the perfect time of picking and all that. Some people really like it, but the past couple years, the fruit that I was able to try from Stan Mackenzie, I had one that was very ripe and one that was fairly underripe. Maybe I just haven't caught it at the right time. But it can be described as being pretty sweet when ripe, and when slightly unripe, it could be somewhat like an unripened grapefruit or more like a lime. So it has potential, and it does rank higher than the trifoliate orange on our taste tests. However, I've yet to have a good one. But I've been holding out. I always mention this one and joke about it because it's probably one of my least favorite after like the Troyer citrange, citrus like that. But I don't think all hope is lost. I do think there's still potential. But the dragon lime's pretty interesting because it's almost more contorted than the flying dragon. I mean, if you could see, some of those thorns are basically wrapping around the stem itself. And this is actually a really tricky variety for me to graft. I was able to graft a few, so you will see these on our website for sale at some point for those of you who want a very hardy, very ornamental citrus, because I do believe this is probably about as hardy as most other citranges, and it does seem to exhibit better dormancy. Not to mention, if the edibility is fairly similar, this is a compelling choice when you compare it to other citranges. And sorry if there's a bit of wind noise now. It's been relentlessly windy here in North Carolina. But anyways, as you can see, it's highly contorted, so difficult to graft or bud or anything like that. But when you do get a good take, it grows very well on trifoliate orange rootstock. And yeah, it does have pretty good dormancy, so it's flushing out a little bit later than some of the other citranges. However, it is still sooner than the citrandrons, which you could see that's just starting now, whereas these are pretty grown out. It does also seem a bit precocious because we've had grafts that flower pretty early on, and now this is going into its second year, and it also has a few flower buds on it, so that's pretty cool. But let's bring you down now so you can see the contorted nature of it. And I forgot to mention the background of this one. I forget if it was found in Texas, but this was just kind of similar to how we found our dragon lemon. This was one in thousands of seedlings that exhibited more citrus-like qualities. As you can tell, some of the leaves can even border on being unifoliate, and you will get some unifoliate leaves in the mix amongst all these trifoliate leaves. But you could tell clearly this is not a trifoliate orange. It's a 50% hybrid with some other citrus, and people can speculate if it was some type of sweet orange or not. Look at that, more flowers up there, I just noticed. So yeah, this is some chance hybrid from some open pollinated flying dragon seedlings. And flying dragon, for those of you who haven't grown it, is actually fairly zygotic. You will get a lot of seedlings that have straight stems and straight thorns, which is an indicator because they don't carry that dwarfism or that mutation that would otherwise present itself in true to type seedlings. So you are able to tell pretty easily with flying dragon which ones are not, Nuceller seedlings, which ones are not true to type. That's how we noticed our dragon lime here. And I want you to kind of see some of those similarities. Firstly being, it did retain that contortion. I don't think it's still early on. I don't know if it's quite as contorted as the dragon lime, But the dragon lemon does the same thing where it has these really curly spines, and you can see that waving in the stem and everything. But yeah, perhaps it's a bit straighter, but definitely the stems curling every which way is an interesting feature that I took note of. Another way we distinguish this too, when we found it, again, we're growing thousands of flying dragon, mostly for the nursery for sale or for dwarfing rootstock, whatever the case is. And I noticed one that looked a little bit odd, so I tasted the leaves, and the leaves had a lemon taste to them. Actually quite lemony compared to a lot of other trifoliate hybrids, which some of them can still have pretty pleasant tasting leaves despite the fruit themselves maybe not being exceptional. But this one had really good tasting leaves actually, and maybe at some point I'll taste dragon lime leaves too, just to compare. But I don't know if you could see too, the leaves are significantly glossy and dark, and they almost have like all these raised little bumps on them. They are distinguishable from standard flying dragon. And now you'll see some of them are a bit funny looking. Most of them are trifoliate on this graft, but I've had the original seedling actually put out unifoliate and bifoliate leaves a few times. But it is strongly trifoliate, perhaps even more so than the dragon lime. But they follow that same kind of pattern here where we have that 1 in 1,000 seedlings that seem to have been pollinated by something else purely by chance. This came from Lynn Citrus in California, so I don't know. They grow primarily rootstock varieties, but if this is a 50% hybrid, it looks like it could have hybridized with maybe one of their mandarins or something, or one of their lemons, because they do have Volcamer lemon rootstock and rough lemon, things like that. Given the lemony taste too, I'd feel inclined to say it's one of those. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it's like a yuzu or a Taiwanica or something like that, because I feel like those would be a bit more distinguishable in terms of taste and smell. But definitely very lemony in the leaves, which may help narrow it down based on what other rootstock they were growing. So something chance pollinated one of the flowers, and we ended up with this seedling here. So that's pretty cool, and I think it has a lot of potential. I've kind of maybe jumped the gun naming it dragon lemon because this could produce a fruit that's totally not like a lemon, but given the leaves and everything, I thought it was a funny twist on dragon lime. So kind of paying respect to the original. But this does, like I was mentioning, indicate a potential here. So for those of you who are breeding 50% hybrids with trifoliate orange, perhaps consider flying dragon as a parent. And there have been crosses in the past that utilize the trifoliate orange as the female in the crosses, so the receiver of the pollen. And I might be wrong on this, but I believe Morton Citrange was one of them, whereas Troyer and Carrizo were actually the, the trifoliate orange was the male parent in those crosses, whereas it was the female for Morton. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but some of you may know. And if that trend kind of holds true with some of the other citrus varieties, I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps there is a chance at better edibility and still pretty good hardiness if the trifoliate orange is what's being pollinated. So there might be a difference in that, and there might be some more citrus qualities retained. Again, I still have to find out whether or not the fruit can be of good quality from this plant. So far, the best I was able to get is a very bitter lime taste, which even when diluted into a limeade was still pretty bitter, though it was lime-like, so I can give it that at least. But consider too, with how zygotic it is, and this potential for more edible fruit, and not to mention the ornamental aspect. So you get to retain, in some cases, at least these two, our sample size is 2 here, they both retains that curvature in the stems and the spines, and potentially they might have pretty decent or at least interesting fruit from a culinary perspective or for preserves. Both of which are very interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing, we're planting these out in the trial row now to get a lot of these new varieties tested, because we have dozens of new seedlings that are going out this year and being grafted so we could get them to good size and test them this winter. But I'm looking forward to seeing the fruit quality that comes from our dragon lemon here, and I'm looking forward to comparing it further with dragon lime and seeing some of the similarities and differences between the two of these. But it seems promising. I mean, I actually did get a couple flying dragon plants added to the rows there because I want to use them as a female parent in these crosses. So I made sure I got mature plants that were started from cuttings, actually, from Medicine Citrus. We'll give those a couple years, and once they're flowering, I might try all sorts of combinations, but maybe using some orange quat or mandarin quat type of material as the male parent in the crosses, so pollinating those into the flowers of the flying dragon. And that might be pretty interesting too. It'd be really cool to get like some sort of citrange quat, but with really curly, contorted stems too. So we'll see how dominating this trait is, but it's interesting that it showed up twice already in these hybrids, whereas even with the flying dragon seedlings themselves, of course, majority will be contorted, but to different degrees, and you will still get some that are straight too. So I don't know how those odds are with this generation, but if we do more controlled crosses, perhaps we can figure this out, because it is just the second accident. But as far as I know, not many people have really utilized the flying dragon in crosses. And given the amount of time that's gone by since a lot of these original hybrids were created or discovered, I'm quite surprised by that. So I just wanted to put it out there. If any of you guys are interested in this sort of thing, again, even just from an ornamental aspect, it's really cool, but there is a chance at better edibility while still keeping some pretty good hardiness, because again, dragon lime performed pretty well in our trials. It was not damaged by the winter at all. That's just down to 10 degrees here, but I have seen and heard of it surviving even colder than that. Again, probably comparable to a citrange, maybe somewhere down to 0 degrees. So those zone 7 people can grow stuff like this, and I'm crossing my fingers you can grow this too. That would be really, really cool. But let me know what you think in the comments about using flying dragon as the female in these crosses. Let me know what you think about dragon lemon and the potential of this plant. Again, here's another look at it. Super cool to see all that. And again, I'm just speculating that it's a 50% hybrid, but there is a chance that it's even more complex than that, and this could be like 25% citrus, 75% trifoliate. But given how fragrant and glossy and different these leaves look, I'm not quite sure. I don't know, and I don't have enough experience with 75% trifoliate orange hybrids. It's kind of just in the realm of, I can speculate based off of like F2 populations and things like that. So I don't know, maybe you guys will know better than me. There's plenty of you smart people in the comment section. So I'll look forward to hearing from you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.